Ultimately, discipline will save your life on the battlefield.
They're gonna get a taste of freedom. That's what we call it.
Welcome to Lunch with a Marine. I'm DJ Higgins.
And I'm Nick Boyle.
And today we will be interviewing a dear friend and mentor of mine, Colonel Richard Vinny Caputo. He's been kind enough to invite us into his house with a fantastic spread on the table. What's your favorite item on the menu?
Everybody knows I'm a big brisket fan. It looks absolutely fantastic. I really can't wait to give that a try.
Yeah, I already broke into the sausage, threw it over some eggs, was really impressed, and I'm excited to show our audience the smorgasbord that we have prepared for them.
Yeah. Sounds like our host is on his way.
So what was your fondest memory of being a Marine? Now, once you're a Marine, you're always a Marine.
Absolutely, yes.
That's an important point to make, right?
Right. Yeah, you're always a Marine.
So you're a Marine for life.
You're in it for life.
Yeah.
25 years, went from enlisted to officer. So many memories.
How do you, that's interesting. So you joined and you enlisted, and then you decided at some point you wanted to be an officer.
Yeah. That's a great question. I enlisted in the Marine Corps Reserves, so I'll tell you, I didn't take high school seriously, and with the Marine Corps, you have an opportunity to join an elite team. I wasn't good enough to be a New York Yankee, but if you grit, determination. I became a businessman after I retired from the Marine Corps, but that's what made me successful.
So what skills did you bring from the Marines to the business world?
Leadership, servant leadership. Simply put, leadership's kind of a contact sport, right? You gotta, be vociferous, and you're gonna be able to give orders, take orders, depending where you are in the chain of command, if you will. Even in a business, there's a chain of command there, right? So, the tenacity to make something happen, right? Marines just don't loaf around, sit around, right? We make things happen.
Every man and woman serves in a different way. And it doesn't mean that you serve in the military, it just means that you have a purpose in life. It gives you discipline, gives you organization, gives you structure. And I think everybody should try to serve, regardless of where they're at in their life. And, it changed our lives to be able to serve in that manner. One of those biggest things I struggled with in the military was trying to reinvent who I was, but the military teaches you all those things. They don't teach you to be a civilian, but they teach you everything else, which is really important.
Of course, I'd love to hear how you became a kid from Providence to flying helicopters. I think that's really that could be a movie in and of itself.
Yeah, so United States, unequivocally, that the change was United States Marine Corps. That was just my niche, and I would posit or argue that Parris Island or OCS in Quantico, it's worth 5 times a Harvard degree if you want to be successful in life. It's not easy, right? It's not a cakewalk. Just because you go to Parris Island doesn't mean you're going to leave as a Marine.
Right.
There's a lot of, there's a lot of, you got the right psyche to do it too, right? And you can't be a quitter, right? So, and you're going to be broken down. Right, I went as an individual. I left as a team member, right? And I'm never going to let my brothers down or sisters.
So going back to the team member, that's a good point. Like, why is it that, and maybe the term fraternity would be wrong, but it seems like there's a lot more camaraderie, and it's like a club like the Marine Corps. Like you drive around to a job site, like I'm on a job site. I know that guy was a Marine. He got USMC on his hard hat. He's got a bumper sticker. Yeah. His license plate got USMC, like everything.
Most likely he has a tattoo.
Yeah. But it seems like there's like so much pride and zeal to
extreme
be a Marine.
Pride. Extreme pride.
Does that go back maybe to the point where you're saying it's hard? you're not guaranteed to be a Marine, so that brotherhood is.
And then
we made it. You know,
learn about traditions and the wars the Marine Corps fought, right? You look at I'll just take World War II, right? Then turning most people say, oh, it's Midway, right? Some Marines that stopped the Japanese in Guadalcanal. Right? That we can, we can beat the Japanese, right? It was a hellacious battle. You learn about this in boot camp and OCS, and you read about it, right? Commandant Gray at the time had a reading list. These are books you had to read about the Marine Corps and battles, and some successful and some maybe not as successful. And so you're not going to let your brothers and sisters down, right? And the nation's counting on us too, right? We're the 911 force, right? We're the response force, right? We're going to break the door down. You send the Marines in.
So you're flying a 53 Echo,
Yeah.
which is massive helicopter.
55,000 pounds or so.
Yeah, which is a heavy-duty triaxle dump truck, right? That flies, it defies gravity. I was always curious, like, so you as an officer, you have certain weapon loadout you carry on that thing to get your Marines in there safe and get them out safe. Do you pick that for the mission, or is that like you get those standard issued and that's what you have for your whole deployment?
Yeah,
or
yeah.
How does that?
We've got mod deuces out the doors. 50 cals or a max effective range, 1,810 meters. It's amazing what you remember. And then we have a GAU, minigun 50 out the back. So that load's kind of like a standard load. Now, if you're doing something where our tail sniper ramp gunner's getting away, we can remove that. But really, you're not going to fly in combat without some weapons out there, and 50 cal will reach out and touch someone. Doesn't matter if they're in vehicles or whatever. You're gonna, it has a good probability of kill.
Right.
So that loadout, and then you have countermeasures on the aircraft for flare chaff, depending what the mission is, what kind of weapons you're going up against, or you may see on the mission. So you may flare heavy, chaff heavy. Now they have directed IR. Durkham, they have, since I got out, they've really made the, a lot more formidable. You can protect yourself against different weapons. It's a rat race of someone comes up with a weapon and how do we defeat it, right? How do we get to fly our mission, to service the grunts and still, come back alive.
Does the helicopter come with like warning systems, or like when somebody fires a missile at you?
Yeah,
that's
had,
like radar lock
APR 39, so you'll have it's a radar receiver. But there's antennas on the aircraft, and so probably a 49 now. But so that's going to give you. It'll pick up the micron range of the as the if it's like a SA7 or whatever, pick up that micron range, and it'll kind of give you directional. And then you're counting on your crew chief. You see smoke in the air. Hey, I got a caulk trail come off the right side. So if it was SA7, you're going to shoot flares off that side, and then jink or try to change your course. So it'll go for the flare's going to burn hotter.
Well, so your chaff is for radar.
Chaff for radar. We said SA. Yeah. So. A man pad,
right.
It's going to be IR, but a radar guided, then it's chaff, right? Same principle. Now the systems are automatic, where we were kind of like old school, and you had to you only got 30 squibs each side, and then you could directionally launch them off, or you could kind of like fire the FPF and kind of shoot everything off in Cyclone but then you don't have any more,
right.
You don't have anything else left for the rest. And sometimes mission can go on for hours, But normally, you're operating, the airspace is not contested because we normally establish air superiority before we, before we do something like that. But you can someone pop up with a man pad, right? And
right.
you gotta take action, appropriate action in the aircraft.
Now, how many tours have you done overseas?
Six deployments.
Wow. And what skill set did you use during times of battle to bring?
I was an officer for all my
right.
deployments. So,
because we have this saying between us whenever I'm in a tough time, as someone who certainly admires the Marines, but is not a veteran. Got to go in the Marine mode. Got to get it done. And that's something I learned from you. No excuses, even if it's tough. Celebrate when it's done. So I've been intrigued with this attitude that you have. Dubbing it Marine mode. When you're overseas facing peril, what goes into your mind when you're responsible for so many people?
The Marine Corps, they don't just send you into battle and you don't know what you're doing, right? So you train, right? So it becomes almost second nature, right? So, and then you have the responsibility of these young Marines, right? And the higher you go, the more responsibility you have, right? So that's in there, right? And then in the heat of the moment, you get adrenaline flowing, and you don't have time. You don't sit back and say, I'm going to get shot tonight. I'm going to get shot out of the sky. I'm going to get blown up. It doesn't happen. Your training takes over, and these Marines are counting. Like our ground brothers are counting on us, right? I flew the 53 Echo, and so we're doing, bringing Marines into combat zones or high value target extraction or something like that. You could be refueling. I mean, long missions. When we went into Afghanistan, after 9/11. It was, over 600 nautical miles up there, right, to get up in there. But again, you're trained for this, right? So that's your training takes over, and you got a job to do, and you look to your right and left, and everyone looks to their right and left, right? And those Marines are counting on you, right? And you're not going to let them down, right? It's instilled in you.
Right.
We're going to do this.
There's a scene that I just taught in American Sniper, and Chris Kyle, of course, being a SEAL, but having a lot to say. I just finished his book, reread it the second time, about the Marines, where he was getting married, and it came to his knowledge that the United States was going to war, and him and his brothers celebrated. They were ready. Is that part of the training that you're at a point? Because
sure, I mean, I think anything if you're a race car driver, and you practice, hey, then the big race comes, right? So there is an aspect to that, right? That, hey, I've been training for war. I was a weapons and tactics instructor and a March 1 instructor. So kind of, a higher end tactician in an aircraft, how we support our ground brothers. When I was, for myself, 463 happened to be a squadron in MAG 24. It was a Delta squadron, just 2 turbines on it, the D. But I remember, the MAG CO at that time, Great American, but and then I would, 20 years later, I'm commanding that group. So I was a lieutenant in that squadron. I'm commanding a group of those squadrons in Hawaii. Yeah, it was a great honor, and having squadrons in combat. But people die in combat, right? It's not a movie, right? So and I think as a Marine. I know when I was married, it was like, hey, God forbid something that's going to happen. But if it did, hey, take somebody SGLI and have a party, because I was doing something I like. I just love the Marine Corps, right? Love being a Marine.
So I think it's an important beat to unpack. So you were saying, in the event something happened to me, throw a party for what I'm.
That's how I looked at it, right? But
so in that sense, you weren't necessarily afraid of death when you were going over.
No, I mean, you belong to the fiercest fighting force out there, but things happen, right? Golden BB could have an aircraft malfunction, maintenance malpractice, God forbid. But you say, hey, you want to join the Marine Corps? It's a pro sports team. You could people die, right? And when something like that happens, certainly didn't look at it at that time for me, but you know what? The Marines family didn't sign up for that. So when you're, I've seen enough death to last me 4 lifetimes. When that, families at, memorial service, and their children, right? And you didn't take their dad home. Their dad didn't come home, right? That Marine may or may not have felt like I did. But it's sobering to know, that family definitely did not think that way, right? That's he or she thought that as a Marine, right? But that's the, that's the other side of it, right? That this is, it's a serious business, right?
my younger brother and I both served our country in '03 and '05. We went to Iraq, and I was a medical paramedic in the Marine Corps. He is a Marine, and I served alongside the Marines, and so different experience. And I tell you, it changed the way I looked at life. And it's one of those things where we both got out of the military, both kind of fell on our face, and we just didn't know who we were. I didn't know who Brian was. I lost him in 2014, Memorial Day weekend. And when I did, it changed my life immensely. I was lost. I had lost one of my best friends. I had lost somebody who I served with, and we started a program at that time to just kind of raise awareness and love and perspective that you can still serve even after you've already served. And it's one of those things where I had to find a new purpose to serve, and I did. So Liberty was born out of this idea that if we could do what we love and make a difference doing it, then why shouldn't we? And so what's been amazing about this journey is, people love to eat and drink, and if they can make a difference in lives, then why can't we do that? So we started a nonprofit in 2017 and loved it, did some great things with it, but I don't know, there was something with a bigger calling, and I just got called back into food again.
You meet Marines and there's this brotherhood that's almost contagious, hence Lunch with the Marine, and we meet other Marines. And as I've been trying to develop the show, when you tell other Marines what we're doing, there's an enthusiasm. And I think what you've unpacked, which is fascinating, is it was really hard to get through boot camp, and then it doesn't necessarily get any easier. So you have respect for people that have made the dedications that you made, and that's where the brotherhood is born, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's a way to look at it for sure. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So at the end of the day, the food was fantastic, no?
Yeah, I was blown away, and but I know Nick's the brisket grader. So what do you think, Nick?
I think it's the best brisket I think I've ever had, to be honest with you. And I'll tell you what, he has really good burgers. I don't know how many burgers I've eaten in my lifetime. That's it. That's number one. That's actually absolutely incredible.
And this worked out well. Thank you for letting us use your home, welcome us here. Getting the food from the food truck and being able to ask you some pertinent questions.
Yeah, very welcome. And obviously proud to be a Marine, but there's nothing special that I did. Right? As just a Marine, and any Marine you put in here is going to have similar, type stories. If you did a career, it could have just been one tour, a whole career, but just being a Marine is, that's the honor right there. Again, I did nothing special per se.
Well, thank you very much for your hospitality, Vinny. It's been
very
great.
welcome, Nick. Thank you for making it happen.
Everything is my favorite thing to make. There's nothing that we don't do that I don't love. I mean, and everything is actually a journey behind me that something I've either tasted or loved or came in contact with, and it's stuck with me for the whole life.
Vinny, just a dumb question, but how do you get Richard Caputo? How do you get Vinny?
That's a long story, but as a Marine Corps pilot or a naval aviator, you have a call sign, and mine happens to be a name. Vinny started off as the Vin Man, of course, a movie or two, and then I think it was when my cousin Vinny came out.
Oh, one of my favorite movies.
Imagine that, yeah. And then it was immediately went from Vin Man to Vinny, and I've not been able to get away from it. So, you don't fight it, and again, mine happens to be a name. So most people think my name is Vinny, but it's actually Richard.